I'm Granny Green Thumb, and today we're going to talk about thinning the fruit on our fruit trees. So I wanted to tell you that I bought this home with this lot about 5 years ago, and the trees were already here. They did not all grow in 5 years. So I'm blessed with mature trees already, which is a real benefit. But it's also a problem because they maybe didn't take care of them as much as I would have liked. If you're just starting out planting your own fruit trees, good for you. You can take care of them, and in a few years you'll have the fruit. We have an apricot tree that we did plant. We call him Charlie Brown because he's kind of crooked. 2 years ago. You thin the fruit on your fruit trees for two reasons. One, to improve the quality of the fruit, and two, to maintain the health of the tree. But it's hard when you pick buckets full of peaches off your peach tree, little ones, but you have to do it. The best time to thin your fruit trees is when the little baby peaches or apples or whatever are between the size of a dime and a quarter. So it's in spring, the fruit is set, and you can tell which ones were pollinated and which ones are ready to go. If you're like me, you have several fruit trees, and so the thinning goes on to the summer. So let's start by showing you some that are done. So here's a peach tree. So we've thinned these peaches by twisting off probably 3 or 4 in between each one. You want them to be about 6 inches apart at a minimum, but about 6 inches to give the peaches room to spread. If they don't have room to spread, they're just going to be small and hard and yucky. But you also have to think about the branch length and weight. Like this one right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 peaches on this little branch. It might be okay, but I might have to take one off. It might get too heavy because you don't want your branches to break. If they break, then you don't get that fruit this year or years to come. As they ripen, the peaches get heavier and heavier and bigger. And so like when I thinned this in the spring, it looked like, oh, there's plenty of room. And now as they get bigger, I'm like, oh, maybe I made a mistake. So it's okay to continue thinning into the summer as you see a problem. You can use braces. We put a piece of wood up here to hold it up, and that can help too. Look how close those two are. Too close. So I'm going to leave the one that is closer to the big branch so it has more support, and I'm just going to twist this little one off. And then you take the fruit and you throw it away because you don't want to just throw it on the ground if you can help it. It's a harbor for bugs. Your fruit will be better if there's less on the tree. All right, so this is a yellow delicious apple. At least that's what we think it is because it was here when we moved here. It has been thinned, and so the apples are spaced quite a bit apart. When apples grow, they grow in clusters. You'll have a cluster of flowers, and often many of them are pollinated and become little apples. So you're going to have to cut off all but one from every cluster. Now, I have been cutting off more than that for this reason. Apples tend to be a bi-yearly producing tree. They get set where one year you get tons of apples, and the next year you can get no apples or like 2. So I don't like that. I want a more consistent fruiting. And a way to kind of force the apple tree into that is to heavily thin it on the heavy year. And this is a heavy year for us. So I've cut off tons of apples, buckets and buckets of apples off this tree. Now, one thing about apples is they grow on these little spurs. There we go. There's a little spur that goes to each apple, and that spur will produce for years and years to come. So when you thin your apples, you have to make sure you don't pull the spur off. Peaches, whole different thing, but apples have this kind of permanent spur. So I don't pull apples off. I use these little clippers and I clip off the ones that I don't want because I don't want that spur to be damaged. All right, so now we're in the compost part of the chicken pen. It's where we throw all the green waste that the chickens peck at and turn into beautiful soil. And it's where the part of the pear tree I haven't thinned yet is. I do the pear tree last because I don't really like pears. But many in my family do. And it's a beautiful tree. Like I said, it was here when I moved here. But you can see, look at all these pears. They will get heavier as they ripen. And we've had many a branch break in the pear tree because I waited too long. Now, usually I have a bucket right here that I fill up, but I'm going to just fill up my little tray. And I'm going to take my clippers again because pears also grow on the spur. And I'm going to say, well, I look for one that looks kind of healthy and big. They all look good. I'm going to pick, this is the winner. This is the winner pear. None of them look good, but they look healthy to me. So I'm going to just take my clippers and I'm cutting off a ton of them. Now, if you love pears, this is probably really hard because you'd be like, but look at all those pears that could have grown to fruition. But this way I'll get 2 good ones instead of a whole bunch of little yucky ones. So I'm going to need to go through all this and get as many as I can. Remember, if you can't reach it to thin, you can't reach them to pick. So I don't know. I'm going to have to find somebody really tall to help me out with the pear tree. So this is Granny Green Thumb. Send me your questions to askgrannygreenthumb@gmail.com. Enjoy your garden and have a wonderful day. Bye.